The file trembled in my hands as I scanned the words, but each time I tried to focus on the text, my mind seemed to slip away. I couldn't breathe. The weight of the file that was clearly mine, pressed down on me like 100 tons of steel. My stomach churned as I tried to make sense of the papers inside. But the more I read, the less I understood. Ethan's eyes were fixed on me, his face pale and filled with the kind of fear I had seen in so many of my patients. But this time, it was different. This fear wasn't just a reaction to a lost memory or a fleeting thought. This fear was real, raw. He had seen something I hadn't yet acknowledged. I dropped the file onto the coffee table between us, unable to hold onto it any longer. My hands were shaking uncontrollably, my chest tightening with the knowledge of what was inside, what I had tried to forget.
Evelyn.
Ethan whispered, his voice full of desperation.
We can't keep running from this. We have to know the truth. And I think this file, I think it's the key.
I could barely look at him. The words on the pages had burned into my mind, and I felt a deep nausea rise from within. Who was I really? The question plagued me, like an itch I couldn't scratch. My past, my true past, was slipping through my fingers. A life I hadn't known existed. A life I couldn't remember. And worse still, I didn't even know if I wanted to. I stood up abruptly, pacing back and forth in front of the couch, my mind racing. This isn't right. This file, Ethan, this isn't possible. But I knew it was. The handwriting in the file was mine. But the memories on those pages didn't belong to me. They couldn't. They were jumbled fragments, pieces of someone's life that I didn't know. And yet, they felt so familiar. Too familiar. Ethan's voice broke through my spiraling thoughts.
Evelyn, please, sit down. You need to hear this. We need to face it.
I glanced at him, his face a mixture of fear and determination. He was right. The truth was standing in front of me. The truth was all over that file. And if I didn't confront it now, I would never be able to move forward. With trembling hands, I grabbed the file again. This time, I forced myself to read it, to absorb the horrifying details of my own life, my own actions that I had long since buried in my mind. But something wasn't adding up. A name that wasn't mine, kept appearing in the margins. The grey-eyed man. Every page, every paragraph. He had been there all along. A cold sweat broke out on my skin. I could feel the ice of the grey-eyed man on me, even though I hadn't seen him yet. Not clearly, anyway. But his presence loomed large, filling the gaps in my memories like a shadow, always just out of reach. I dropped the file and stumbled back, my heart racing. No, this isn't real, I whispered to myself. Ethan rose from the couch, stepping toward me.
It's real, Evelyn. He's been controlling us both. You're part of this, whether you remember it or not.
Stop, I snapped, raising my hands to block him out. I can't take it anymore, Ethan. I don't know what's happening, but I can't do this. His face softened, and for the first time, I saw the same fear in his eyes that I felt in my chest.
Evelyn, please. I'm not crazy. You're not crazy. We're just trying to survive. but we can't survive if we keep running from the truth. You need to remember. You need to face him.
I closed my eyes, letting the words wash over me. Face him, the grey-eyed man. Every time I tried to confront him, he was just a blur, a silhouette I couldn't quite make out. But the longer I waited, the more real he felt. "Who is he, Ethan?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Who is he to us?" Ethan hesitated, his eyes darting to the floor before meeting mine again.
I don't know who he is, but I know what he's done. He's been pulling strings, Evelyn. He's been taking pieces of me and you and erasing them. And I think he's the reason we're both losing ourselves.
The weight of his words sank in, and I felt like I was falling, sinking deeper into a place I didn't understand. My mind screamed in protest, but I couldn't stop the inevitable. How much of this was real? How much of this was just another illusion in my fractured memory? I took a shaky breath and looked at him. "What's happening to us, Ethan? How did we get here?" He ran a hand through his hair, his eyes filled with confusion and guilt.
I don't know. I don't remember how this started, but it's been happening for a long time. I've tried to fight it, but every time I think I'm free of him, he comes back. And every time I come back to you, I remember more. But it's all mixed up. None of it makes sense.
I felt a chill run through me. Fighting him? Was that even possible? Can we fight him, Ethan? Is it possible? My voice was barely audible, and I didn't even know if I wanted the answer. But I needed to hear it. He nodded slowly, though there was doubt in his eyes.
I think we can. We have to. But first, we need to understand what he's done to us. We need to remember everything, every detail, and we have to figure out how to stop him.
I walked over to the window, my mind reeling. Remember everything. But what was left to remember? Everything I thought I knew felt like it was slipping through my fingers, like I was grasping at smoke. And the grey-eyed man? Was he the one pulling the strings? Or was he just a manifestation of something deeper, something more sinister? I couldn't shake the feeling that he was watching us, always in the background, a silent presence lurking just outside the reach of our memories. I turned back to Ethan, my voice low, shaky. "Do you think he's still watching us, Ethan? Do you think he's here right now?" Ethan's face was pale, his jaw clenched.
I don't know. I don't know where he is, but I feel him. I feel him in my thoughts. I feel him here.
Suddenly, a knock at the door shattered the silence, and my heart leapt into my throat. My breath caught. Was it him? Was it the grey-eyed man? I looked at Ethan, my chest tightening. He was frozen, his eyes wide with panic. "I'll answer it," I said, trying to keep my voice steady, though my hands were shaking. I walked to the door slowly, every step heavier than the last. When I opened it, I was met with nothing but empty air. No one. Just the quiet hum of the hallway.
Evelyn,
Ethan whispered behind me.
do you think he's gone? Or is he still watching?
I didn't answer. The air was thick, oppressive. I closed the door behind me and locked it. I didn't want to speak the words, but I felt them in my gut. The grey-eyed man was still here. He was always here. I turned back to Ethan. "We have to leave. We have to get out of here." But as I said it, I felt the weight of those words crash down on me. Could we run from him? Or had we already lost the fight?